In this video, the 5 best countries in Latin America for healthcare. Latin American healthcare stands out for being incredibly cost-effective, inexpensive, efficient, and having a much more personal touch. One thing we talk about a lot on Twitter is how amazing it is to have your doctor's WhatsApp number, his direct phone number, and having constant access to your doctor at all times, and being able to, say, send your doctor an image, to receive messages after hours, and it's a much more direct line of communication to the healthcare professionals, and you're going to get to spend more time with the doctors as well, where when you see a doctor, you're really seeing the doctor for a full hour. And it's not like in the US where if you see the doctor at all, you only see him for 5 minutes, or he just pokes his head in to say hi, but you're really dealing with nurses and interns or whatever. So even if the United States was considered a LatAm country for the purposes of this list, it would not make the top 5 countries by best healthcare in Latin America, ironically enough. So, what are the top 5 countries for healthcare in Latin America? We're going to be going from north to south. It's pretty hard to determine which one's actually the best, second best, whatever. So we're going to give you the top 5 going north to south. So the first country on our list is Mexico. Mexico, no surprise, you've probably heard this, has some of the best healthcare in Latin America, and therefore some of the best healthcare in the Americas and really in the world. Healthcare in Mexico is absolutely top notch. The best healthcare in the country, probably is no surprise, is going to be Mexico City. In Mexico City, they have all the most advanced equipment. That's where the most specialists are, the most doctors. So even for more esoteric, problems that you might be having, you're going to find specialists for all that stuff in Mexico City. They have the best equipment. They have everything you could ever want, and they really have the best stuff. That being said, you'll also find extremely top-notch healthcare in Tijuana, in Monterrey, in Guadalajara, and really any of the large cities in Mexico. One thing probably worth mentioning is as you move to, say, smaller cities in Mexico with maybe a couple 100,000 people, the healthcare is still excellent. They still have private hospitals. They still have very good private hospitals. And, the same things still apply in terms of convenience, in terms of being able to get attended to immediately, having the doctor on WhatsApp, all that good stuff. So Mexico is very good for healthcare wherever you go. Of course, it's going to be the best in Mexico City and the other 4 or 5 largest cities in the country, but that's not to say that the rest of the country sucks for healthcare. By no stretch of the imagination, healthcare is very good all around the country. The next country on our list is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a country that admittedly the healthcare is probably the most expensive of the 5 countries on this list, but it's very good, it's very Western. You're very likely to have a fluent English-speaking doctor. And it's probably worth mentioning that in Costa Rica, they're very used to treating expats and retirees and foreigners in terms of, the patients that they're seeing on a day-to-day basis. Whereas in Mexico, most of the patients really are Mexicans, and of course they'll see, a fair bit of expats, especially in Mexico City, Colombia, whatever.
Costa Rica champion!
Costa Rica, the client base is going to skew much more heavy to expats, and so they're very used to dealing with expats. They're probably very used to dealing with maybe international insurance, with speaking English. Maybe they even have bilingual doctor's forms and stuff. So very expat focused in that sense. And you'll find very good healthcare dotted all around the country in Costa Rica. The next country on our list is Panama. Panama is famous for having some of the best healthcare in Latin America and really some of the best healthcare in the world. A commonly cited statistic is that they have this hospital called Punta Pacifica that is actually connected to Johns Hopkins Hospital in the United States. And Johns Hopkins is obviously a very advanced hospital. And so if you really need that absolutely high-end care, Punta Pacifica is the hospital for you in Panama. Personally, I've gone to the dentist in Panama. I've done x-rays and random stuff in Panama and always had a really, really good experience. The prices are in USD, so they're skew kind of on the higher side, a little bit higher than Mexico in terms of prices, but very, very good. High levels of English, high likelihood that your doctor has studied in the United States or Europe or somewhere internationally as well. But Panama is really a country where the doctors, the dentists, the healthcare professionals, it's one of their primary industries in Panama, and they take it very serious. And I think just like the general population of Panamanians have a very high percentage of people that have that work in the medical industry. So there's basically doctors all over the place, and really, really good ones. They have all the best equipment, and you're going to have a really, really good experience with healthcare in Panama. Of course, there's tons of expats and retirees in Panama, and one of the main reasons that they choose Panama is because the retiree healthcare is so good there. Now, moving on to our next destination is Colombia. Colombia is very famous for medical tourism. So if you want to get veneers that might cost $30,000 in the US, you can fly down to Colombia and get veneers for something like $3,000-$4,000. I don't know, like barely 20% of the cost. And I think this goes for a lot of different cosmetic surgeries and cosmetic medical procedures that they're very, very cheap in Colombia. And Colombia is kind of like the Turkey of Latin America in that sense. So very, very popular for medical tourism. But really, Colombia in general has very, very good hospitals, very, very modern facilities in a lot of places. They have sort of like a tiered system of hospitals where there are some very, very expensive hospitals. There are medium expensive hospitals, and then there's more local public hospitals and so forth. But if you really, really want high-end care, Colombia definitely has that. Of course, the Colombian peso is quite cheap. Colombia as a country is quite cheap. So you can expect most medical procedures and healthcare costs in Colombia to be really quite cheap, especially going to the dentist. We regularly have people on Twitter talking about how they went to the dentist and got a cleaning, and maybe they got a root canal or whatever, and it was only $20 or something like that, right? So Colombia, very, very cheap option, probably the cheapest of the 5 countries on our list across the board in terms of healthcare costs. The 5th and final country on our list is Chile. Probably no surprise, Chile is one of the most advanced, civilized, and organized countries in Latin America, so it only makes sense that the healthcare is very good there. Chile is also Latin America, obviously, so it's going to have a lot of those benefits of the Latin American healthcare system where you get direct contact with doctors, where you can pay cash and it's not that expensive, where you get their direct phone numbers or WhatsApps. So all those benefits that we know and love from Latin America are alive in Chile, but Chile will also introduce probably a better layer of organization as well. It's a very, very advanced country, and the hospitals there are certainly top-notch, not only in Santiago, but then in also the smaller cities as well. I would be completely confident with a Chilean doctor. Chile also has some of the highest levels of English fluency in Latin America, and so you can reasonably expect that you'll have an English-speaking doctor in Chile, which is always a plus. So there you have it. Those are the 5 best countries in Latin America for healthcare. You might be wondering what our ranking is based on, and it's based on pure vibes. It's based on years of speaking to hundreds and thousands of people on Twitter and in person, different expats, etc. So again, running through that list north to south is Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia. In Chile, those are going to be your best 5 countries in Latin America for healthcare. But probably worth mentioning that literally any country in Latin America is very good for healthcare, except for maybe Belize. I don't know. Maybe that's not even Latin America, but really any country in Latin America is good for healthcare, especially if you're going to those top private hospitals that really aren't even that expensive. So you can rest assured that anywhere you travel in Latin America, you will have very good healthcare coverage, and certainly much better than you would be getting in Canada or the United States, at least on a price or wait time to effectiveness ratio. Last thing I'll mention is if you look at the description for this video, you'll see some links to Safety Wing, Insured Nomads, a couple partners that we have that can help provide you with health insurance for your travels. All expats, digital nomads should have health insurance. Definitely a no-brainer. So our recommendations are there for you to check out. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.